So it's a great pleasure for us to have you here in Europe and doing this interview. So thank you very much for that. And I would like to go directly to the first question. So do you remember your first hunt?
Very first hunt? I don't at all.
What about you?
God, we got to put up with him the whole interview. I remember my first hunt. We bought a Garrett GTI 2500. Him and I went out to an old farmstead in Montana, and I found a 1904 dime. And he didn't find anything, and he like cried because we went to eat, and I kept showing him this silver dime I found. And after that, we were hooked. Huh?
Okay, so that's why he gave this weird answer, actually.
Yep.
Yeah.
I still don't remember it.
So when did you guys started with all this video stuff and YouTube stuff? Can you give us a short overview how this all started?
Yeah, we started this out, and we really liked it. We were hooked detecting, like he said, right away. But then George was always on the internet looking up stuff, trying to find out if, you know, there was some new tip or anything he could find. And all these videos were really serious and dry, and they were how-to videos, and they were good, but they just weren't like real finds, you know, in the moment. And so we decided to invest in a computer, software, and everything. And then we carried cameras for a year and just kept filming and filming until we had enough for a show. And then all of a sudden we started making these DVDs, put them on eBay, and we had EMD 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and we had all these things. They were selling on Amazon, eBay, and it became popular. And for whatever reason, just because it was the two of us, we started adding in little things like, I don't know how to describe it. They were just kind of insane. We were riding plastic horses off cliffs and getting hurt, you know, jumping motorcycles over things, and it just caught on. I don't know how to explain it. We don't know how it happened, really.
I can explain it a little better. All right, yeah, that's basically how it really started. But we started putting out YouTube videos, and just to try to get people to come to buy our DVDs. We thought, you know, if we could make enough money to buy a new metal detector, you know, maybe take a trip, you know, off of what we sell our DVDs. Tim wrote a book and stuff.
You wrote a book, really?
Yeah, I can write.
Yeah. There's no periods or punctuations, it's just one line.
Yeah.
No, but we put the YouTube videos out to try to bring people in to, you know, buy our DVDs, you know, and every once in a while, like once a week, we'd sell one DVD, and Tim would call me up at work. I worked at a copper mine in Montana, and he'd call me up, hey, we sold a DVD this week, and I was like, yeah, we're going to be famous, you know. And then after a while, I mean, all these TV production companies started, you know, finding our YouTube videos, and then they just started calling us, you know, and then we ended up, you know, with a company out of Bethesda, Maryland, Half Yard Production, and we've been with them ever since, and we just finished filming our 4th season, our 64th show.
So how long did this process took? I mean, when did you start, and when did you start with your TV show?
Well, we started about 10, 11 years ago making those DVDs, and then we put little ads on YouTube. We didn't put the whole thing out on YouTube, just little teaser reels, and they were sitting there, and then one day the phone rang about 4 years ago, and I thought it was him playing a joke on me, because the girl's like, hey, do you want your own TV show? And I'm just like, who is this? I didn't trust her, you know. And finally she convinced me, and then it just kind of snowballed. We made 2 pilot episodes, and they did really well, and then we shot season 1, 2, 3, and here we just finished season 4. We have 16 brand new shows, and they start in the USA around July 1st, I think. We don't know the exact premiere date yet, though.
Yeah, and when we started, we actually making our own DVDs. It's extreme metal detecting is what the EMD stands for, because we'd be out in the snow, in the wind, and shoveling sidewalks and getting into the grass. But we ended up contacting Von Garrett, you know, Garrett metal detectors, because that's what we use, and we didn't want to get sued for using their stuff doing craziness. But then Vaughn called us back, and Steve Moore got a hold of us, and, you know, we ended up forming a friendship with them, you know, and they sent us some hats and shirts, you know, and we thought we were so cool because we got a box of free hats and shirts, you know. But we've been with them ever since, you know. I mean, they've been great to us.
Yeah.
So the first question I asked myself when I saw the first episode, my God, how long does it take to make an episode like this? I mean, it feels very real. We talked about it before. So how long does it take to make one episode?
You know, it usually takes 5 to 7 days of filming for 22 minutes of airtime. You know, like National Geographic, they have a team of people in the production company, have a team of people that are always searching for spots for us. And usually we get to a spot, we'll have like 5 or 6 places lined up. We might go to 3, 4, 5 places and find nothing. And then we'll just keep moving and moving. And eventually we'll get to an area where we start finding time period stuff we're looking for. And then once we start finding it, and then it's like the cameras are all over you, you know, so that it's real and it's raw, you know.
So what was your first, not your first, your most exclusive historical moment in terms of finds?
Before the show or on the show?
Whatever you want.
Well, I'll tell you both. The first thing I found that was really historical to me, we live in this little town. It was a copper mining town. It's in the mountains, in the Rocky Mountains. And it's a little town called Anaconda. And I found this copper badge from 1893 or 1894, and it said Anaconda, the capital of Montana, and it's not. They lost in the election, so it was a cool piece of history, you know.
Okay, that's cool, yeah.
Just in case you want to know, Helena is the capital of Montana. And so that was really cool. It kind of put us on the map with Garrett, because Garrett noticed that we found that cool little item, and they put us in their magazine and everything. But on the show, you know, one of the things I think we found that was really cool was probably the newest thing we found. It was 1983. It was Steve Jobs' computer mouse. It was in a time
I saw the teaser, right? Very cool.
And I mean, you know, people think, well, it's only 1983, but the thing is, it was supposed to be dug up in the year 2000. But we came along, they forgot about it because they re-landscaped and everything, and we came along in the year 2013, dug it up, and there it was. And now people are carrying it around, you know, with handcuffed to a briefcase, you know, because it's so valuable and everything. And, you know, it was only made in 1983.
Wow. So what was your most awesome find?
You know, probably my coolest find is we were doing a show in Idaho on the Oregon Trail. And there was this guy, he was a big cowboy guy. His wife heard that we were in the area, and she called us and said that my husband has lost his wedding ring like 8 years ago. You know, he was feeding horses, throwing hay over the fence, and he lost his ring. So we went in there. This guy, he's a big, proud guy. You know, he was kind of embarrassed. We come rolling up in like 4 vans, come piling out, and he's just like, oh, God, what am I doing? So we went out there, you know, and his wife had a ring exactly like his. The best man bought him. There were peace symbols, you know, that the best man made them for their wedding. I mean, they could have went and bought one. They had plenty of money, but he wanted that ring. So we started hunting for this ring. We looked for like 2 hours in this field, couldn't find it. Tim went over to the garden where supposedly he might have lost it gardening, and everybody kind of forgot about it. And me and my one camera guy was going along this fence, and I got this little faint hit, and I dug down, and out popped this guy's wedding ring. We didn't tell him, didn't tell Tim, nobody knew, just me, the producer, and the camera guy. And at the end, you know, we have everything laid out on the table. I had that ring in my pocket, and Tim was pulling out tools, you know, our toys, car toys from 30 years ago that his kids lost in the yard, you know, and they're like, oh, that's so cool, you know, that's so cool. But at the end, I pulled that ring out of my hand, and I said, Ed, I found one more thing. And I dropped his ring in his hand, and that guy melted. He started crying. His wife was crying. Half the crew was crying. Tim had to walk away.
I was totally angry because they didn't tell me about it, and even just showing the lady the cars, you know, it's like, oh, my son played with these cars 30 years ago, and she started to tear up, you know. And then when the ring thing happened, my eyes got all big, and I was starting to tear up, and I'm like, I'm not crying on TV, so I walked off. I just walked away.
So isn't it always kind of emotional doing this sports or hobby? Or?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we get into some, like, serious stories, you know, like where, you know, I mean, you know, you can't help but feel emotional for what happened there, you know. Sometimes when you're filming, you know, because if you don't find nothing, you don't have a show, so there's a lot of pressure on us to find stuff, you know. I mean, we're not going out, we're not putting anything in the ground. If we don't find nothing, that's part of the show. You know, so a lot of times, you know, it is emotional. We're at massacre sites, we're at war sites, you know, and sometimes you got to stop doing what you're doing and think about what actually happened there, you know. It's some important stuff, you know, and everything we find goes right to the museums.
So this is also a very yeah, important point. The historical background. How important is that for you guys? Working with museums, archaeologists, for example.
Yeah, everywhere we go, we have an archaeologist with us. So, but anyway, they're always with us. They GPS everything and record it all, report it to the museums, and then the landowners in America get to decide whatever they want to do with it. They can keep it. Usually they donate it all to the museum, and you know, every once in a while they'll have a big bucket of stuff and they let us keep stuff, and we'll take it and we get to show it, and it's hands-on stuff for school kids. You know, we'll give talks, and then school kids, you know, they may get bored with a book, but if they can hold a, you know, a mini ball from the Civil War or see a belt buckle, you know, they get excited and they want to see it, you know, so they pay attention.
And then they buy a metal detector and then
Okay, so so this goes out to both of you guys. I mean, you did a lot cool stuff. You reached a lot. So, are there still any wishes or dreams you wanna reach? You wanna areas you wanna hunt? So, what about your wishes and dreams for the future?
I definitely want to like dive down to a shipwreck someday and try to find like an old Spanish real or a gold coin. That's one of my dreams. And coming here actually is one of my dreams.
Okay. What about you?
Yeah, we're, like he said, we're right in the middle of fulfilling one of the dreams because we're in Europe for the first time detecting. Pretty darn cool. But, you know, I'd also like the president to open up the White House lawn and let us go out there for a little while.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. So I'm looking forward for this episode. So
The king and queen, huh? Yeah.
So thank you very much, guys, for having us. And so what about last thing? What about this, guys?
Hey, that's the universal symbol of comedy right there.
Okay.
The rubber chicken.
Okay, thank you very much, guys. Das war's hier aus Belgien mit den Diggers. Tolles Interview und ja, ich bin richtig stolz, dass ich das hier für euch machen konnte.